Well, hello there. So, contrary to the popular reactions to the previous episode, which I described as very good, probably the best of the season, the writers got angry and said, "This nonsense has to stop. What do you mean there is a good episode in our show?" So, they gave us this episode. And my general impression of this episode is
Um, it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
yes, it's bad. It's very bad. And I watched it twice, so I know what I'm talking about. And the first time I watched it, I was so angry, and I thought it's probably the worst of the season. But after the second watch, I calmed down. It's not the worst, but it competes with the third one on this title. At this point, the episodes are not competing for the top spot, they are competing for the last place. Now, before I start in this episode review and discussion, there are two things I need to clarify. First, a very important event that I forget to comment on happened in the last episode, which is the joining of Septa Frey to the small council. I mean, how stupid could you be so that you dishonor your promise to someone and then bring him to your council? Logic has officially left King's Landing. Now, the second thing, which is the most important, is the foundations of this show. The foundations of this show are already shaky from season 1, but they get worse in season 2 and in this season. So there have been many stupid and fragile foundations so that anything you build on it will still look bad. There are many things, but the most important ones of them, which are related to this episode, are 1. Alicent giving the city to Rhaenyra. I still don't know why, the audience don't know why, I think even the characters don't know why. The second thing is Rhaena's whole arc, but most importantly is her confession to Lady Jane Arryn, because there is not any single justification for someone to just plead guilty. The writers are basically saying, don't worry about the foundations, we'll put some CGI dragons to fix it. Problem is, even your CGI is bad. So, starting with this episode, and we will follow a chronological and character-based format. Beginning with Sir Criston Cole. We see him with the few people left of his army in their suicidal mission. Then they inspect the bodies. And a lot of people got happy because Sir Criston has died, and a lot of people hate him. I personally hate him from the first episode. But I have a big problem with the adaptation of this event from the books. And I'm not the type of person who gets angry when an event changes from the books. In the end, it's not a Bible or Quran, so that you get angry when it's altered. Like these one are not altered. Anyway. And there are many different adaptations that were varied to the book but were good. For example, Daeron, until now I think is a great character, even though it differs from the book. And those who don't know Fire and Blood or have not read it, they must know that it's a history book. We have 3 people recounting the events of the dance. So we don't get POVs or get into the character's mind. So if an event executed better in the books, that's a huge problem. That's a disaster. I mean, just imagine that I come and tell you what happened in the Red Wedding, and then you see the actual scene, and still think my story is better than the scene itself. I mean, how bad the execution could be so that you think that. In the book, the event is similar but not exact. There are some important details that are different, and this is what I like about George Martin's work. The small details are the ones that make the difference. So you can't just cancel them and expect the scene to be great. In the books, after the Butcher's Ball defeat, Cole was leading 3,000 soldiers and he was negotiating for the peace of his people. With the 3 lords, they are different from the ones we see in this episode, but that's not important. Anyway, after the negotiations failure, he demands a trial by combat. Then he drew his sword against the 3 of them and said a similar line but not exact. He said, "Me versus the 3 of you. That will make enough fight of it." And then the Longleaf, which is a character in the book, responded with a sign to the archers to throw the arrows. And the one who is mainly killed him is Rob Rivers, not Alison Blackwood. And then Longleaf responded with his iconic line, "I'll have no songs about how brave you died, Kingmaker. There is tens of thousands dead on your account." And they removed it. They removed the best line of the scene. I mean, how stupid could you be to remove that? Especially that it would be a great symbolic advice. Since the last episode, we see Criston Cole wish to die as a hero. I mean, they had one job, adapt the cool part, and they removed it. You removed the line that would make a great construct and symbolism. I mean, do writers even gather at a room to discuss what they write or what? Another thing is that Cole's death is not something simple or silly to put it in the first 5 minutes of an episode. He's one of the major players of the dance, and he was here from the first episode, and he got a lot of screen time. Anyway, Sir Kristen, you will not be missed. Shout out to Sir Kristen Cole. He has an impressive CV. Kingsguard from Humble Beginnings, Kingsguard Lord Commander, Kingmaker, and most importantly, a tongue master. So, from Kristen Cole to Alicent. Alicent, so you are a stupid, illogical person whom caught in the aisle, and you did all of this to save Helena and her child, even though you left Jehera behind. So what do you do next? Well, it's very simple. You tell Rhaenyra that Helena is with a child. Again, logic has officially left King's Landing. And then in an after scene, she tells her about the dreams and that Helena dreams, and Rhaenyra just believes that. I don't know. Maybe there is a possibility that she is lying, or they removed that option from this world. And as we speak of Rhaenyra and her genius assassin plans, the first thing that comes to my mind is Otto Hightower words.
God's help us all.
You know, I want you to imagine that there is a lady giving advice to another lady. That's what happens in Rhaenyra's small council. And you know, I love Emma Darcy and all of that, and if they are interested in dating, my Twitter account is in the description. But her performance is not consistent with the character's circumstances. She always acts with exaggerated facial and physical expressions. You know, she acts with all of her body and face and depict ton of needless expressions. And she reflects only one picture of Rhaenyra, which is the tensed, nervous, afraid one. And that's not consistent with the young Rhaenyra, that was wild and confident. By the way, I hate young Rhaenyra, but that's not the point here. You know, she has the same expressions whether she's negotiating a war or ordering a lunch. Again, diversity, people. We need diversity. Concerning Ulf the White, I understand the show's plan, which is putting pressure on Ulf. And it is being handled by two ways. First, Rhaenyra's stupid decisions with him, and second, Daemon abuse and bullying. And from Rhaenyra's point of view, I don't have a problem with that. Things are okay. The scenes and the decisions are consistent with her stupid decisions. But from Daemon's point of view, it's not logical. The continuous insults are not consistent with Daemon. First, there is no justification for him to do what he does. And the second thing, to do it in front of the masses. You know, that's a stupid thing. And Daemon is not stupid. I mean, Ulf has one of the biggest dragon, and Daemon's strategy is insult him until he's loyal. Great strategy. Very well done. Moving on to another bastard dragon rider, which is Hugh the Hammer. Now Hugh has a dragon, he's a knight, he's supposed to be on his way to becoming a lord, and he's coming to save his wife. Things are normal until now. You know, he was busy becoming the second most important dragon rider in Westeros. And she's not happy, she's firing him. Well, why she's not happy? She's not happy because he was missed for some weeks. Why? And to spend the nights in pubs and having sex with whores? No. She's not happy because he have the second largest dragon. Come on, I know you are a woman, but you know, but this is too much. Anyway, that's probably the most realistic woman thing the writers has ever wrote. They deserve an applaud. Now concerning the death of the commander of the City Watch. You know, the City Watch is not a simple position, and the death of its commander is a significant event. You can't just ignore that. And Daemon realizes that. So he got angry, he wanted to revenge, he sneaked himself into the flea bottom and bully Ulf. And bully Ulf. Could there be a better revenge? Speaking of the trio, as I call it, this is probably the only time Larys felt good that he's a cripple. In this scene, I liked Aegon's question to Tywin Lannister, which indicates that Aegon realized that he is a terrible person. He's not asking to take his opinion or to consider his opinion. He already knows that. He's asking to see if he's honest. And well, he made his mind on that. And you know, from the second season until now, I think Aegon is a great character, and the actor is also great. Still usurper, but great. And speaking of the Iron Throne and the myth concerning the cutting thing, People are shocked that the Iron Throne cuts people. It was a throne that was made of thousand swords from Aegon enemies, that has been melted by Valerian fire. It's ugly, it's asymmetrical, and it's not comfortable, by purpose. It's literally a chair made of swords. What did people expect? Give you a massage? And then you complain that it cuts people? And you know what made me laugh more about this scene is Missaria watching, like she's the genius one, and she's getting upset because Rhaenyra does not make good decisions. Sis, you did not find Veigar, and he's in the size of a town. Helena is also one of the characters who are undamaged yet. I hope I'm not jinxing it by saying that. I'm sure in the next episode we will see a scene that will destroy her character, as always with these writers. But in this episode we are witnessing her innocence, her sadness, her direct confrontation with her mother. Alicent tells her that her ultimate goal is to be free. So she did what? Gave the castle to Rhaenyra and made herself a prisoner. I mean, logic has officially left King's Landing. And concerning Helena's pregnancy and Rhaenyra's decisions. In the last episode, I thought Rhaenyra would have two choices, either force her to abort or kill her. But forgive me, I have forgotten the writer's IQ. They came up with a third decision, which is nothing. Yeah, Rhaenyra does nothing. Helena is pregnant with a child who is potentially a competitive claimer, and she's done nothing. Now I get where the inspiration of the small council came from. It came from the writer's room. Now concerning Rhaena and Jane Eyre, as I mentioned before, your foundation is weak, so now whatever you build on it will fall. And despite that, the scenes in themselves are also awful. I mean, how could you raise a hand against a Targaryen with a dragon? And not an ordinary Targaryen. That's Daemon's daughter. Now concerning Alice Rivers, we see glimpses of her ambition. She wants to have a Targaryen children, she wants to become Poseidon. She has those eggs that are nearly 100 years old. Now, for those who don't know, these are the eggs of Dreamfire, who is Helena's dragon now, but previously was the dragon of Rhaea Targaryen, who was the granddaughter of Aegon the Conqueror, and the daughter of Aenys Targaryen. And after a lot of bad things that has happened with her, especially after the death of her daughter, she got depressed and lived in Harrenhal for about 10 years. Now the question is, how Alice find those eggs? Was she there when Rhea came in? And she's that old, but she hides it, like Missaria. In the book, it's rumored that she passes with the virgin blood to keep her youth. And I thought my skincare routine was expensive. Or she's not that old and she has just found them. We don't know yet, but anyway, Alice Rivers is one of the mysterious and interesting characters in the book. Let's see how the show is going to deal with her. I'm excited about that. Now some comments on passing scene. So Bela is wilder and more sexual adventurous in the book. She's like the female version of Daemon. She hangs out with the common folks, drinks with the gold cloaks, and she's literally described as wild, wanton, and willful. So that may explain her behaviors. Last week she was with Jace, yesterday with Adam, and today with Alan. And I'm not sure, but maybe a love triangle would arise from this? Vermithor and Silverwing were Jaehaerys and Alicent dragons. That's why we see the intimacy between them. And I don't know, will we build on this later? Now concerning Ormond Hightower, I think the notion itself of giving Ormond a high sensitivity to others is a good one. But I think they went far with it. Coming to the final scene, which for me was one of the worst in this episode. We are talking about Corlys Velaryon, the Lord of the Tides, master of the largest fleet in Westeros, the richest man in Westeros at the time, and one of the most powerful lords in the entire realm, and one of the smartest in the story itself. And you're telling me he can just be kidnapped like that, and I should turn a blind eye so that the plot can move forward. And that's consistent with the previous scenes and the episode with this show. The writers just ask us to turn a blind eye so that the events move. I mean, there are two doors. Well, yeah, just ignore that. I mean, innocent behaviors do not make sense. Well, don't think much about that. Men are responsible. I mean, the sea snake is just kidnapped like that. I mean, the sea snake is kidnapped like he's a hedge knight. Well, pretend this makes sense. We are out of time. The writers keep their favorite thing. Cheap surprises and stupid cliffhangers. So that the event blows up. Overall, I think it's a bad episode from a bad season. I would be very generous if I give it 4 out of 10. So now, as there are 2 episodes left, does that mean that this season is over? There is no chance of resurrection? Well, not exactly. There is one thing that the showrunners could do that would make this season a great, probably the best season. And I know a lot of people are shy to say it, a lot of people are afraid to say it, but don't worry, people. I will step up and take that burden away from you. We need a lesbian scene between Emma and Olivia. I mean, come on, look at their chemistry. They would give a scene that could compete with blue is the warmest color. You know what? I'm not that greedy. You know what? I'm not that greedy. I will settle for a scene between Misaria and Renera. I mean, come on. Just give us some good scenes. We nearly finished season 3 and there isn't a single good scene. Is this the Song of Ice and Fire world or Harry Potter world? Anyway, see you later and tell me what you think in the comments.